Hello, this is Analyze Nation coming at you with the third episode of this Series 11 review series, Rosa. This is a weird episode to talk about for me because I feel like historicals never really please me. Or at least a historical dealing with this type of heavy subject matter wouldn't please me. Now obviously, spoiler alert, not actually, I am white. I have not experienced any of the historical racial oppression of the 1960s or of America or of the world in general. I'm just going to be speaking from what I have observed and from what friends have told me who have experienced it. I'm going to get my complaint off right off the bat, and I'm sorry there's no other way to talk about this without being spoilerific, so before I do that, I'm just going to say that I really liked this episode, and I believe so much of it was hampered by small little things that they easily could have fixed. The villain of this episode doesn't make sense to me. And I think doesn't make sense to a lot of people. We have this racist from the future, which I'm okay with, as much as we like to think that the future is, Star Trek idealism, there probably will still be racists in the future. So I'm okay with that. Here's the thing, though. This racist from the future's plan is a comically, cartoonishly evil bad guy who is also racist and thinks that the way to end the entire civil rights movement from ever happening at all is to stop Rosa Parks from saying no to standing up and getting to the back of the bus. Now, I appreciate the message here that it's small moments that make history. That's a really good message. Things don't have to be grand. You don't have to be president to make a difference. And I am in favor of those types of messages, especially for younger kids. But the idea that if you stopped Rosa Parks, not even kill her, right? Because he can't. That's one of the things, that he has a chip that he can't harm purposefully or kill people. He can't do that. So just by stopping her from doing it on this one day, the civil rights movement wouldn't happen. Which to me is absurd for two reasons. One, maybe I'm giving racists too much credit. Never thought I'd say that. But I'm pretty sure not even actual racists would think that just stopping Rosa Parks would derail the civil rights movement entirely, right? To give the writing credit that I don't give it, frankly, I would say that if this succeeded, that the racist guy from the future, don't remember his name because he's dumb, well acted, given how little there is to go off of, but dumb, that he would try to move on to other things. That he would try to further derail the civil rights movement. I could give it credit, and that is probably my own headcanon for it. But here's the second reason that doesn't work. They never really bring this up, and there is historical debate as to this, but how do I say this? Rosa Parks being defiant at that moment, saying no, refusing to get up, was most likely planned to some extent or another. See, here's this thing. I did cursory research on this. I'm not exactly sure. But I believe earlier that year, a black pregnant teenager had refused to do what Rosa Parks would eventually refuse to do. She refused to stand up and give up her seat to a white person, and was therefore kicked off the bus, and I think arrested. But that wasn't used as a talking point or a rally cry by the civil rights movement people in that area, because she was a teenager and pregnant, and the very Christian kind of moral fiber backbone pragmatic side of that movement said, we're not going to get any white people on our side if the teenage pregnant girl is our moral figurehead. Which you can debate whether that's right or wrong amongst yourself. I'm not going to get into that mess. But the point is that this was planned and crafted, at least we think so, to some degree or another, to be very, very impacting. And that's not saying that it didn't take courage or bravery at that moment to do what she did, because I'm sure it's acted brilliantly in the episode. That white guy yelling at her with hatred in his eyes and in his voice and in his body language, that must be tough to stomach. I couldn't do that. If someone did that to me, I don't think I could stand up, And I'm not trying to, obviously I'm not trying to toot my own horn here. I don't think I'd even be able to act that. I'm an actor, and acting as a racist asshole is probably not really easy for me. Anyways, my overall point being that if you actually look at it, in my opinion, the most likely thing is, if this was delayed by this day, if this time traveler had somehow succeeded, then it just would have happened another day. And since he had already changed history, he wouldn't be able to tell when. So, the writing isn't as tight as this episode, basically. And I'm going to get into the stuff I do like, but I just wanted to start out with the negative and then get on to the positive. The positives. The setting is super accurate. Outside of, obviously, the time traveler. The atmosphere of 1960s Alabama, the hostility, and the power and the fear in the air, just the power and abuse of power that the policeman emanates that you see. Ryan getting slapped by a white guy. I didn't expect them to go that hard in right off the bat, but it was effective. And as horrible as this sounds, I'm glad they went there, because Doctor Who really hasn't touched on that. There was some quote-unquote cute racism back in the Shakespeare Code with Shakespeare called Martha like a queen of Afrique, or queen of ebony skin, or something, that you shouldn't call someone who's a black woman, African-American woman. But racism has just kind of been hand-waved away by Doctor Who. I was actually surprised that it was touched on in a season 10 episode, when they were in the Thames, the River Thames, when it had frozen over. That was a nice touch. But in such a explicit, in-your-face, no, this is what it was really like. This felt like one of the most grounded episodes of Doctor Who for me, again, outside of the time travel. It's weird I've had to say that. The character interactions, once again, are great, even between the racists and the people from the future. Ryan and Graham get a wonderfully hilarious scene. Yaz and Ryan have a really good, in-depth conversation of what it's like to be a minority in modern-day Great Britain. And, of course, I can't speak to the validity of those experiences, as I am not a minority, nor am I in Great Britain. But please tell me, what you thought of that moment. I really liked it. There's even a great moment between Graham and the Doctor, as the Doctor is continually having to remind herself and being reminded that she is a woman now, and Graham and her having to play husband and wife for a scene that's hilarious. You know the one I'm talking about. Other than that, great episode. The woman who was Rosa was brilliant. We didn't really see much of the Dr. King actor, which I think was appropriate since the episode wasn't about him. But I believed him, at least for like the 10 seconds he was on screen. Everyone in this episode gave it their all, even if there wasn't that much for them to work with. I'm, of course, talking about the time traveler. Anyways, those are my thoughts. There are some powerful moments in this episode, particularly the ending, where It's the reenactment of Rosa and the bus man stopping and yelling at her and calling the police, and her getting walked out, and then seeing on the TARDIS her getting awarded, I believe it's the Presidential Medal of Honor. I could be completely wrong on that, but seeing that was really powerful. And again, it's a really, really good episode that's just held back for me, unfortunately. But I'll still end up rewatching it. I'll still really enjoy it on rewatches. It's just that one thing kind of stopped me from saying that I loved this episode. That it's top 10 material or top 20. Might actually be top 20. I don't know. Anyways, that's the end of this review. Tell me what you thought of it in the comments below. Like, subscribe. Please watch the previous 2 episodes. I don't know why I'm going this way, but the previous 2 episodes that I did of The Woman Who Fell to Earth and The Ghost Monument. And I'll see you guys next week when I review Arachnids in the UK, I think. Whatever. You'll know it when you get there. See you around, guys.